Our chosen topic today is our NOLO database. NOLO guides are books written in straightforward language about numerous legal topics, including immigration, family law, employment law, landlord and tenant issues, wills, trusts, and intellectual property. Even though NOLO Press encourages do-it-yourself and can-do spirit in all of their consumers, they do recommend that if you're facing a complex situation not described in their books, that you would go ahead and seek legal advice or legal representation, even as you're working through their publication. Okay, there will be a survey that you'll have the opportunity to fill out at the end of the webinar, so look out for that. And now that everyone has the opportunity to understand how to interact with the webinar, we're going to go ahead and get started with the presentation. So, I'm going to share. Okay, so here we are on San Diego Law Library's homepage. And if you haven't been to our website yet, this is the URL you would type in, sandiegolawlibrary.org. To get to our databases page, you would hover your cursor over services. You're going to click right here to legal databases. Now, these are all the databases available to patrons right now. We've actually gotten a lot more available remotely, so be sure to check out for that. They're in alphabetical order. So what I'm doing is I'm scrolling all the way down to NOLO Books, or the Legal Information Reference Center. So we're going to click here. Now it's asking us for a login page, but never fear. The instructions are right here. It tells us to put in our county name without space. Now I'm in San Diego, so I'm going to check San Diego. And then for the password, it's our two-state abbreviation. So California, CA, and hit sign in. And here we are. This is our Legal Information Reference Center. The NOLO books are organized a few different ways. One of the easiest ways to see what we have is to browse by category. So what I'm going to do is click here to go over some of the topics NOLO covers in our database. So business and corporations, that's a huge topic. This includes business and accounting audits, employee rights, human resources, making a profit, or starting a business. We also have family affairs and divorce. So of course, adoption, elder care and seniors, family pets, that's a popular one, parenting. Under immigration and travel, we have fiancé and marriage visas, student tourist visas, US citizenship. Money and financial planning is a big one right now for sure. We have bankruptcy, credit repair and debt, identity theft, life insurance, your business taxes as well as your personal taxes. That's also a big one right now. For patents, copyrights, and trademarks, we of course have copyright, patents. One option is cool is the creative arts and music. If you're creating your own art you'd like to share with the world. Property and real estate, buying a house, that's something we hope we can all do someday. Or selling a house also, and what to do if you're already a homeowner. Moving right along to rights and disputes, criminal law, personal injury, lawsuit or mediation. Small claims court is one that gets used quite often, as well as traffic tickets and accident claims. The last category here is will and estate planning, which of course includes getting your affairs in order and living trusts. So one thing I'd also like to mention is a lot of the topics are for all of the states, but we also have publications that are specifically for California. To show you guys this, I'm going to search estate planning and California and just see what comes up in our database. Okay, what's so special about estate planning in California? Well, wouldn't we like to know? This is included in a publication called Every Californian's Guide to Estate Planning. So a lot of the NOLO guides are like that. They will have the state in the title, and that's how you'll know, oh, this is specifically for my state, or if it doesn't mention a state in the title, that means it's for all states. There's also forms, which are really helpful. You can browse them by state as well as topic, which we went through with the guides themselves. So some of the same topics: accident claims, divorce. And I am going to show you how to search specifically for forms. So let's say I wanted information again on real estate. I'm gonna go here. Now this gives me over 1,200 results, which can seem a little aggressive at times. So we're gonna go to advanced search and see if we can make that results list a little smaller. We're still searching for real estate. I'm gonna scroll down to this section of search options, which allows me to select a document type. And I'm gonna scroll down to forms. Let's hit search and just see what happens. Okay, now we have only over 500 results, but it's still a little bit better than 1,200. And we can see that this is a form because it tells us right here in our results list that it's a form. Okay, I know this is a lot. We're almost to questions. Another way that NOLO databases are accessible to our patrons is through our catalog on our Law Library website. So I'm going to take us back to sandiegolawlibrary.org, which is where we were at the beginning. And if you look on our website, right here on this right menu, there's a button with a magnifying glass. I'm going to click that, and it's taking me to search the catalog. Okay, so we hit the magnifying glass, and now we're going to hit search. And here we are. It says we're at San Diego Law Library Online Catalog. So let's just assume I wanted information on small claims because I wanted to file a small claims case. So I'm just going to type in small claims in the main search box and hit enter. So again, 84 results, a little bit less. And some of these things, manual procedures, we're not exactly sure what they are. But right here, our third resource, Everybody's Guide to Small Claims Court. That looks pretty accessible. And there's a big red button right here that says full text available March 2020, available in the Legal Information Reference Center. And what we just learned is that's also our NOLO database. So I'm going to click here and see what happens. And here we are. This is the specific item record for the publication Everybody's Guide to Small Claims Court. I'm going to go through this a little bit with you guys. There's a lot of text here. One thing to notice right away is some of the text is blue and some of it isn't. The blue text is clickable and hyperlinked. So there's multiple ways to get into this publication from the database. First option is right here, search within this publication. You can click right here and see that it's highlighted and underlined, so we know it'll take us somewhere. You can also get there by clicking on the date next to full text. My favorite way to get through is to click here on the year where it says all issues. So I'm going to click on 2020 and March 2020, and this will take us to the full text database. Okay, so let's just see what that looks like. And here it is. All of the contents of Everybody's Guide to Small Claims Court is here on our page. There's 28 different sections of the book, starting with the intro, Your Small Claims Court Companion, and then going through the chapters. So let's click into a PDF just to see what that looks like. Okay, here we are, Your Small Claims Companion. And it's just introing the book for you. And because the title is Everybody's Guide to Small Claims Court, we know that this is for all the states, not just in California. Another thing I wanted to mention is these books are low cost and available at multiple libraries, not just ours. So if you're finding yourself not wanting to read it on the database or printing it out is a little too labor intensive, you can definitely order the book on Amazon, or once the libraries reopen, you could get it from, I know Carlsbad City has them. And we, of course, at our downtown branch have a large section of the physical books, as well as up in Vista, we have some too. Okay. I'm going to pause here and see if there are any questions so far.
So we haven't had any questions submitted right now.
Okay.
Move on.
Thank you, Valerie. Okay, so now we're going to get into some more of the cool detail work within this database. So kind of think of yourself as a detective researching your legal question. I'm going to go back to my results list and then eventually to new search. So we've described the different ways to access the information. and where to find it on the database. One tool that I see people overlooking when they're here on this database is the publications. So we're going to click here, right on this top menu. And this is giving us an alphabetical list of all of the NOLO guides. So if you know your first letter of the title, or you kind of know your topic, but you're not seeing it in the categories tab, this is a great way to look. So let's go. We were using Everybody's Guide to Small Claims Court. That's where we were before. So we know the first letter of that type of publication is E. We're going to click here. Employer's Legal Handbook. That's helpful. Not quite what we're looking for. Essential Guide to Workplace Investigations. Estate Planning Basics. We're getting close. Every Airbnb host tax guide. Now that looks helpful. Continuing. Ooh, Every Californian's Guide to Estate Planning. We encountered that before. Continuing down. Landlord's Guide to Managing Property. Everybody's Guide to Small Claims Court. Okay, here we are. And this is taking us back to that specific item record. And I'm going to get into the book again the same way. Now, let's say I'm here and I've looked through a lot of the PDFs of the book and I want to save some, email them to myself or print them. There's a way to do that. If you look, this particular box, this button, gives you an abstract first. It tells you what this document you're about to open says. Oops. A preface to the book, Everybody's Guide to Small Claims Court, which we looked at. This other button over here is a folder. So let's say I wanted to save this for later to print, email, or save multiple items. I'm going to click on the folder right here and see it says your folder has items. Okay, so let's do a little bit more. How about, can you collect your money if you win? That sounds really important for small claims. So now we have 2 items. Now I'm going to go to folder view right here. Okay, so here we are in our folder. It has 2 articles. And from here, I can print these all at once. I can email them to myself, can save them as a document on my personal computer, or export, which is similar to saving it on your computer. So that's helpful if you're researching multiple things and you're on different publications, different parts of the contents list, and you want to save information to go over later. Now, the one bummer about this tool is once you leave the database, it's gone, and there's not a way to save it for later. So, we could also go into a form and see how that works. So let's go back to our Legal Information Reference Center. I'm gonna go, let's say I wanted some divorce forms. So here we are, form 4, single, divorced, or widowed with no children. I'm gonna open that up. And I'm going to share what this looks like with you guys. As soon as it opens, it could take a minute. Here it goes. Now, forms are great because, different from a PDF, you're able to type information directly into this document. So, stop the share. I'm going to share this with you. All right. So this is a will that we just downloaded from the NOLO database. And it's telling us the kind of will it is if you're single, divorced, or widowed with no children. Will of. And so let's say this is my name. First, you need to hit enable editing and it will let me type into here. Okay. This is my will. See? So this is really great because you can save your progress on your computer, go back to it later, and print it out when you're done. So I really think forms are a great aspect of NOLO. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about that? Are there any questions that I can answer?
Hey, Havila, we do have a question in the Q&A section from one of our attendees about forms that are good for multiple jurisdictions, like maybe specifically family law forms that are good in say both California and Arizona.
Okay. Well, this is a great research question. Thank you. We can research it together on NOLO. So what we're going to do is go back to the beginning, our first section. And we're going to go, so it says family affairs. Okay. So let's go into family affairs and divorce. Thank you for your question. And we are going to go to, let's try, is adoption probably? We'll try there. Building a parenting agreement that works. Okay, so this is the very first one is a parenting agreement, and it's from the publication Building a Parenting Agreement That Works. And this is an example of a publication that's not specific to California, but applies to all 50 states. So let's open that up and see what it looks like. Open. Okay, I'm going to share this for you. Okay, so here we have parenting agreement, section A. The parties, the following is a mutually acceptable agreement between, you put your names, regarding how to share parenting responsibilities for our children's names. And it looks like you can stipulate how long this agreement lasts, where the children will live. And so the clues, if you were looking through here, and again, I'm a reference librarian and a paralegal, but I'm not an attorney. So this isn't legal advice per se. You would be interpreting the form yourself. And if there was any specific questions, you would definitely want to bring it to an attorney to look over to make sure that it is applicable in your specific situation, especially if it's complex. But because NOLO has publications that are for all the states, we can assume that this is a good jumping off point to at least begin to draft that document. I hope that makes sense. So that's an example of one. We can also, I think your question specifically said Arizona as well. So if we go back to our database, share, we can look at forms that are specific to that state. So I'm going to go, I went back to the home page by clicking the little icon of their logo. And then I come over here to legal forms by US state. And I'm going to search by state so we can see what that looks like. Ooh. And I haven't explored this yet. It says United States federal and state legal forms. So let's just open that up and see what that looks like. Oh, okay. So this is an example of a hyperlinked PDF within the NOLO database. And it looks like it's organized by state. So here we have Arizona. And if we wanted Arizona state legal forms, let's click here. This document from the NOLO database took us into the arizonacourts.gov. And you can tell that that's a reputable website because it has the .gov, which would tell you that this is a government website as opposed to a .com website. And it looks like, similar to our judicial council forms, this is a resource that gives you access to all of the forms. Here's all of the notices about COVID, and then their forms are organized by case type. So eviction action, personal information redaction, powers of attorney, small claims. Similar to NOLO, but now we have left the NOLO database and gone to the arizonacourts.gov forms. And let's see if hitting back works. So you could follow this same process. Here we are again on the Legal Information Reference Center, United States federal and state legal forms. And we can go for our state. So let's go to California state legal forms. And here we are. California Court is the judicial branch of California. I'm sure many of you have been on this website. Our forms are organized by name or by number, which is interesting. If you compare, in Arizona, they had it by type, whereas we just have it by name, by number. So I hope that begins to answer your question. I'm sure there's many, many others.
Pavla, our next question is, do members of the public always have access to this NOLO database, or is this something that's specific just because of the COVID-19 crisis?
That's an excellent question. Thank you for submitting it. To answer it, I'm going to take you back to our homepage. And this is my favorite way to answer, to access our homepage. I just type in San Diego Law Library, and it's the first entry. We are going to go back. So here we are at the homepage. I'm going to hover our cursor over services, and we're going to click legal databases. So our databases will show you via this graphic if they're available on our computers. And this is the computers on our library, or wireless. This means wireless when you're in the library. And the last one is home. So let's specifically go down to NOLO. And again, alphabetical order. So we're just going all the way down to NOLO. You can see that NOLO is available on our computers at the library, wireless from our computers at the library. So if you brought in your own computer at the library, you could access it. Or it is available at home. And there's no notation underneath NOLO saying that this is specifically for COVID-19. So to answer your question, the NOLO database is accessible always from your home computer. In comparison, we have specific access like for Lexis, which is for the COVID-19 crisis. And you can tell because it says right here, so here it is, Lexis Advanced Patron Access via registration. And it tells you remote access during COVID-19 30-day trial period and when the access ends. So if there's any question about when our databases are available, if it's specifically for the pandemic, just all the time, that is where you can get that information. NOLO has always been available on your home computer, and that's the way it's going to stay. So I hope that answers your question. Okay. So if you guys are okay, I'm going to take us back into the catalog and we can explore accessing NOLO from that gateway a little bit more. So let's go back. So right now we're on the Law Library homepage, right? But we're here on legal databases. And you notice that this menu right here still appears, which tells you that you're able to access the catalog for the Law Library regardless of what page you're on within our website. Let's do that again. We're going to hit magnifying glass, search, and here we are. Now let's say I wasn't sure how to get into the NOLO database, but I knew that's where I wanted to go. Let's see if we can type NOLO and see if that would take us into the database. 1,000 results, wow. But what's really cool is our first entry is NOLO's Essential Guide to Divorce, telling you it's an electronic resource. We also, so it's just online resources, but if you wanted this physical book, you could check some other libraries to see if they have the physical book available, or you can order it through Amazon. So here we are in the item record, and I'm going to click on this button because it's telling us it's available in the Legal Information Reference Center. And here we are. We didn't have to log in. We didn't have to go to the database. We just went straight from, we went to the home page for the law library. We clicked on the magnifying glass. We entered NOLO in our catalog, and that took us into the database. So if you're ever confused, that's an excellent pathway to get there as well. So let's explore this a little bit. A question I get sometimes is there an index or is there a table of contents? And the answer to that is sometimes. Sometimes it's a table of contents. It's arguable that the contents on this database is the table of contents. It's not traditional like you'd have a page in a book that lists all the chapters. But you could use this as your surrogate table of contents to tell you what is in the book. But sometimes if you go down, there is the page for the table of contents. And I'm not sure if it's in this publication, so we're just finding out together. No, but there is something called the appendix, which looks interesting. So let's click on the magnifying glass to find out some more about it. An appendix is presented a financial inventory, net worth summary, and monthly income. Okay, this seems like maybe what I need. It's 15 pages long, so I'm not sure. But we're going to click PDF full text and view this part of NOLO's Essential Guide to Divorce. Okay, great. So it tells us that it's the appendix. And it says, you know, what the abstract said. This is what's within the appendix of this section of this NOLO publication. So the first one is financial inventory. Okay. And what does this look like, guys? This to me looks like a form because it has the little boxes, stuff to fill things out. So what this is telling me is this is actually an appendix, not of the book itself, but an appendix of the forms contained within the book. So if I was having trouble figuring out what forms I wanted from the publication, or wasn't sure where to go, there is an appendix for this specific one. Now, confusing because if we printed this out or if we downloaded this, we wouldn't be able to fill it out because this is a PDF and we want a form. We want it to say forms. So let's back out of the appendix and go back to our results list and see if we can find that same form within the results list of this book. So we're kind of going backwards. Here we are at chapter 16, going back. And we know that none of this is what we want because it just says PDF full text. And what we saw at the beginning was that if the form, it's going to tell me right here. Going back. Interesting. Okay. So this is a bit of a roadblock. It is not giving me the form. So what I would do in this instance is I would go back into this. I would note the title of the form, which is financial inventory. I would go back first to my results list. Then I would go all the way back up and I would start a new search. And I would do an advanced search because I specifically want the financial inventory form. I'm going to click advanced search. I'm going to tell the database that I just want forms. And now we're going to type financial inventory. Oop. Can your librarian spell? That's a good question. So we're going to hit search. And here we are. Okay, so we found two forms with the same title, which is interesting, from the prenuptial agreements. So we're going to hit full text form and open that up, and that's how you would get to that particular form. So we have about a minute left in our webinar. If you guys have any last minute questions for me. Well, I just want to thank everyone so much for taking this time out of their day.
One more question. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Fine.
You have one more question from one of our attendees who asks, do all the appendices for the books contain forms or is it dependent on the individual publication?
That's an excellent question. And to answer it definitively, I would have had to access every single NOLO publication in our database. And I have not done that yet. I will say that I can generally say the appendice of what it contains, whether it's the table of contents or forms, would depend on the publication. Because in this instance, we saw forms, but in other instances, I have seen the table of contents. So I hope that answers your question. It's definitely something to go find out and look on your own.
And one more thing, can you go back to the homepage just to show what the homepage looks like of our, there we go.
Okay.
So we can do the law library and maybe the NOLO homepage, which is this one.
Okay. So this is where we started, the homepage of the NOLO database. So that's what that looks like. And we know we can access that from the library homepage as well as the catalog. And we're gonna go back to the homepage of the San Diego Law Library, which I literally just typed San Diego Law Library into my Google box, and it's the first thing that comes up. And this, of course, is what our homepage looks like, and the URL is sandiegolawlibrary.org. Thank you so much for joining us today, everyone. I really appreciate all of your questions and taking the time to spend this with us at the very beginning of our webinars and our foray into Zoom. There will be a survey that your computer will prompt you to fill out once you are exiting the webinar. And I just want to thank you so much for your time and have a great afternoon. Bye, everyone.